The Wounded Warrior. The war had turned the land into a broken world. Fires burned across the hills. The sky was dark with smoke. Every sound felt like danger. Shouting, weapons, screams. Jack, a young human engineer, moved quietly through the wreckage. He was not a soldier. He fixed machines, not fought battles. But now he was alone. His unit had been attacked, and he had no radio, no food, and no one left to call. As he stepped over a metal beam, he heard something, soft but strange. Not a weapon, not an explosion. It was crying. Jack paused. He looked around the ruined battlefield. Smoke made it hard to see. The sound came from behind a broken alien ship, half buried in the dirt. Carefully, Jack moved closer. And then he saw her, an alien warrior. She was tall, with gray-blue skin and armor that was cracked and burned. Her face had blood and dirt. One of her arms was twisted at a bad angle. Her eyes were closed, but her breathing was fast and heavy. She was alive, but barely. Jack knew what she was. The enemy. She was part of the alien army that had destroyed his base, but something stopped him from turning away. She looked, in pain. She looked alone. And she was crying. Jack looked down at the small water bottle on his belt. He walked slowly toward her, hands raised. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. "You need help." The alien didn't move. He knelt beside her. She opened her eyes, and they were full of hate and fear. She growled something in her language and tried to lift a broken weapon, but her arm gave out. She groaned, weak, her breathing sharp. Jack opened the bottle and held it near her mouth. "I'm not your enemy," he whispered. "Just drink." For a second, she stared at him. Then, with trembling lips, she drank. The moment was quiet, only the fire crackling around them. Then her body relaxed, and her eyes slowly closed again. Jack looked at her. "You're going to die out here," he said. "Unless." He sighed and picked her up. She was heavy, even wounded. But Jack used all his strength. Step by step, he carried her toward a nearby shelter, an old human hideout that still had walls and a roof. Inside the shelter, Jack laid her down gently on a dusty bed. He cleaned her wounds with some old medical supplies he found. She didn't wake. Her breathing was rough, but steady. Hours passed. Night came. Jack stayed awake, watching her. Suddenly, the door opened. 2 human scouts entered. They pointed their guns at the alien on the bed. "What the hell, Jack?" one of them shouted. "You brought in a warrior. Are you insane?" "She was dying," Jack said. "She didn't attack me. She could have, but she didn't." "She's the enemy," the other scout said. "You know what she is." Jack stood between them and the bed. "I don't care. She's injured. She needed help." The scouts exchanged a look. One lowered his weapon. "You always were too soft," he muttered. "If she kills you, don't say we didn't warn you." They left. The shelter door slammed shut. Jack sat back down. He looked at the alien warrior again. "Why do I care?" He whispered to himself. "Why didn't I just walk away?" Morning light broke through the small cracks in the shelter walls. Jack dozed off beside her bed. Then he heard a voice. A soft, broken voice. "Why didn't you leave me to die?" Jack's eyes opened. She was awake. Her eyes stared at him, no longer full of hate, just confusion. "You could have left," she said. "You should have." Jack smiled a little. "Maybe I should have, but I didn't want to." She blinked slowly. Her hand moved, trying to reach something, but she was still weak. "My name is Jack," he said. "What's yours?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned her head and whispered, "You're strange, for a human." Jack laughed softly. "Yeah, I get that a lot." The code of honor. The shelter was quiet now. Smoke from the battlefield still floated in the distance, but inside these walls, time seemed to stop. Jack sat by the bed, watching her. The alien warrior, the one who should have hated him, just stared back. Her breathing was stronger now. Her wounds had stopped bleeding, but something inside her had changed too. She looked at Jack like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. "My name is Kareth," she said finally, her voice rough but clear. Jack raised his eyebrows. "Kareth, that's kind of beautiful." Kareth frowned. "It means child of battle in my language. There is no beauty in war." Jack nodded slowly. "You're right. I've seen what it does." They sat in silence for a while. Jack gave her more water. She accepted it without a fight this time. "I don't understand you," Kareth said. "Your people kill mine. My people kill yours. But you saved me." "You're not just a soldier," Jack said. "You're a person. You were crying." Kareth looked away, her eyes full of shame. "A warrior does not cry. But someone in pain does," Jack replied softly. That made her pause. No one had ever spoken to her like that. By the third day, Kareth was able to sit up. Her wounds still hurt, but she could speak more and even walk slowly. Jack helped her build a small fire from old wood scraps. They warmed their hands in silence. She still didn't trust him completely, but she no longer looked at him with hate. Jack searched through the old supply crates and found something odd. A translator chip used by diplomats long ago. He cleaned it and showed it to her. "It might help you understand me better," he said, holding it out. Kareth hesitated, then took it. She examined the small device carefully. "You fix things," she said. Jack smiled. "I try." She pressed the chip to her neck. It beeped softly. Jack spoke again. "Can you understand this?" Kareth nodded. "Yes. Better." They both smiled, just a little. Later that night, a storm hit the area. Thunder rolled above them. The wind howled through the cracks in the shelter. Kareth watched Jack as he worked on a broken solar panel, trying to get power back. "You're not a soldier," she said. "No, I fix machines. Radios, ships. I didn't want to fight. I was just trying to help build a better outpost." Kareth's voice turned sharp. "Your outpost was built on land we swore to protect. Our holy ground. That's why we fought." Jack paused. "We didn't know. No one told us." She shook her head. "Leaders lie. That's their war, not mine." Jack stood. "Then maybe we're not enemies after all." Kareth stared at him. "Among my people, when someone saves your life, they earn honor's debt. A warrior's bond. It cannot be broken." Jack looked surprised. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said slowly, "I owe you. I must protect you, even if it costs my life." Jack was stunned. "I didn't save you to make you owe me anything." Kareth's eyes turned serious. "That does not matter. My code is my blood." The next morning, danger arrived. Jack heard movement outside. Voices. Not alien ones. Humans. He looked through a crack in the wall and saw two men in worn combat armor. Soldiers. His people. Jack ran to Kareth. "We have to hide. Now." But Kareth didn't move. "I will not run," she said calmly. "If they attack me, I will fight." "They won't listen," Jack said. "They'll shoot first. Ask questions later." Kareth looked at him, and for a moment, her eyes softened. "Then you must not stand in their way. I do not want you hurt." Jack shook his head. "I won't let them kill you." Footsteps approached the door. Jack stepped outside, hands raised. "Wait, don't shoot." The two human soldiers raised their weapons. "Jack, we thought you were dead." "I'm okay," Jack said, "but I need your help. There's someone inside." One of the soldiers squinted. "Don't tell me. You've got an alien in there." "She's not a threat. She's wounded. She saved me." The second soldier scoffed. "They're all threats, Jack. You're being played." "No," Jack said firmly. "She could have killed me. She didn't. Just come see." Cautiously, the soldiers entered the shelter. Kareth stood tall, though her body still hurt. She didn't raise a weapon. She didn't growl. She simply stood, proud and silent. One soldier raised his gun. "Lower your weapon," Jack said. "Please." "She's the enemy," the man replied. "No," Kareth said, her voice strong now thanks to the translator chip. "I am bound by honor's debt. I will not harm him. I will protect him." Both soldiers froze. Jack stepped beside her. "I know this sounds crazy, but I believe her." The soldiers stared, then slowly lowered their weapons. "This war's got everyone confused," one said. "Maybe it's time someone did the right thing." That night, Jack and Kareth sat by the fire again. "You didn't have to protect me," he said. "But I did," Kareth replied. "And now, I am more confused than ever." Jack chuckled. "Yeah, welcome to being human." Kareth smiled for the first time. A small, tired smile, but real. "Your people speak of peace," she said, "but I have never seen it." Jack looked at her. "Maybe we can show them what it looks like." She didn't answer, but she didn't say no. The enemy camp. Days had passed since Kareth stood beside Jack and claimed honor's debt. Since then, they had traveled far, through burned forests, across dry rivers, and through places where bones still told stories. Food was scarce. Danger was everywhere, but something strange had happened. They no longer walked as enemies. They walked as survivors, and something deeper, maybe even friends. Kareth's limp was worse now. Her wounds reopened during a fall. Jack insisted on carrying her part of the way, and though she protested at first, eventually she allowed it. That alone shocked her more than anything else. "I was trained to kill humans," she whispered one night. "Now I trust one." Jack smiled. "I was told all aliens were monsters, but you're braver than anyone I know." Kareth looked away. "You don't know me." Jack looked into her tired eyes. "Then let me." By the fourth day, Kareth stopped walking. "We are close," she said, breathing heavily. "My people have a hidden base in the cliffs. If we're lucky, they're still alive." Jack looked toward the sharp rocky hills ahead. "And if we're not lucky?" Kareth's eyes narrowed. "Then we both die." Despite the risk, Jack followed her. At sunset, they reached a strange stone. A carved symbol glowed faintly beneath the surface. Kareth pressed her hand to it. The rocks beside them slid open, revealing a tunnel hidden by ancient technology. Jack hesitated. "If they see me?" Kareth nodded. "Do not speak. Do not move unless I say so. I cannot promise your safety, but I will try." They stepped inside. The enemy camp wasn't what Jack imagined. He thought it would be cold, full of weapons and hate, but inside the tunnels, he saw alien families, children, elders, wounded warriors. They were dirty, tired, some missing limbs or eyes. The war had not spared them either. Kareth walked tall, even as whispers followed her. Some warriors bowed their heads. Others glared. And then a deep voice shouted, "Traitor!" A massive alien with black armor stepped forward. His name was Commander Varn, a high-ranking warrior and once Kareth's closest comrade. "She walks beside a human," he growled. "What is this disgrace?" "He saved me," Kareth said calmly. "I was dying. He helped. I owe him honor's debt." "You shame us," Varn roared. "You protect the same kind that destroyed our cities." Kareth stepped forward, wincing in pain. "He risked his life for mine. That means more than hate." Jack stayed silent, remembering her warning. Another voice, softer and older, spoke. A wise alien elder approached, her skin marked with glowing patterns. "Let us hear the human," she said. "If he truly carries honor's debt, he must speak." Kareth looked to Jack and gave a nod. Jack stepped forward. His voice was low but firm. "I don't expect your trust. I know what my people did. But I didn't save her because I had to. I saved her because it was right. The silence in the chamber was heavy. Then the elder asked, "Do you know what it means to carry honor's debt?" Jack nodded. She explained, "It means I matter to her people, even if I'm human." Varn snarled. "He mocks our ways." Kareth's voice cut through. "No, he respects them more than some of our own." The elder raised her hand. "Enough. Let him stay for now. But if he lies, he will not leave alive." Later that night, Kareth sat with Jack in a quiet room. Small lamps glowed softly. Jack noticed her hand was shaking. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, "You stood in front of them. You could have died." Jack smiled sadly. "You did the same for me first." Kareth's eyes lowered. "We were not always enemies. Before the war, humans and my kind once shared stories, learned from each other. But greed changed everything." Jack nodded. "War teaches people to forget who they are." She reached into her armor and pulled out a small item, a worn metal disc. She handed it to Jack. "What is it?" he asked. "A memory core," she said. "My brother's last message. He died in the early days of war. I keep it to remember why I fight." Jack turned it in his hand. "Do you still know why?" Kareth whispered. "I used to think it was revenge. Now, I'm not sure anymore." The next day, Jack worked on repairing an old alien communication device. It was dusty, broken, full of sand and wires. Kareth watched him quietly. "You always fix things," she said. "I try. Machines are easier than people." She chuckled softly. "You're strange. And you're not what I expected." They looked at each other. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then a siren blared through the tunnels. Red lights flashed. Warriors grabbed weapons. "What's going on?" Jack asked. Kareth's face turned cold. "They found us. Humans." Jack followed Kareth to the control room. Screens showed movement outside. Human drones scouting the cliffs. Attack ships circled the sky. "They'll attack," Varn said. "We must strike first." "No," Jack shouted. "Let me talk to them. Maybe I can stop this." "You think they'll listen to a mechanic with an alien friend?" Varn snapped. "I have to try." Kareth stepped forward. "Let him go. If he fails, then fight. But give him a chance." Varn glared, then slowly nodded. "You have 1 hour." Jack stepped outside alone, hands raised. A human drone hovered above, scanning him. "This is Jack Morell." He spoke into his wrist comm. "I'm alive. I'm not a prisoner. I'm with the aliens, voluntarily." The humans on the other side were silent. Then a voice came through. "Say again." "I found something," Jack said. "Know someone. She changed my mind. Maybe she can change yours too." The ambush. The air outside the cliff face was heavy. A low wind blew dust through the narrow rocks, and the sky had turned gray. Not with clouds, but with danger. Jack stood alone in the open, arms raised, hoping the soldiers above wouldn't shoot first. He had no armor, no weapons, only a small comlink and a heart full of hope. He had walked out of the enemy base. Now he was trying to stop a war. Inside the cliff base, Kareth watched the screen, her sharp eyes following Jack's every move. "Why is he doing this?" one warrior asked. Kareth didn't blink. "Because he believes in something stronger than fear." Varn scoffed. "Fools die for hope." Kareth turned to him. "He saved me. Then he stood with me. Now he stands alone. For us." Varn grunted, but he said no more. In the sky above, a human dropship hovered. Armed soldiers inside watched Jack closely through digital scopes. "Confirm target. Jack Morell, missing engineer," said the commander. Another soldier nodded. "That's him, sir, but he's unarmed." "Where is the alien camp?" Jack raised a hand to his comm. Please, listen. The aliens here are not attacking. They are hiding. Families, elders. If you shoot, you'll kill innocents. There was silence on the line. Then the human commander growled, Get down, or we open fire. Jack stood his ground. Not until you hear me. Suddenly, a loud blast shook the rocks. A second dropship, unknown to Jack, had been waiting behind the cliffs. Its captain wasn't there to talk. It launched a missile. The explosion cracked the earth just meters from Jack. The blast threw him backward into the dust. His ears rang. His body burned from the shockwave. And then, silence. Until screaming. Kareth ran. She didn't wait for orders. She didn't wait for help. She sprinted through the tunnels, ignoring her pain. Her body still healing, her side bleeding again. But she didn't stop. She burst from the rock tunnel into open sky and saw Jack lying still. No. The second dropship hovered, loading its weapons again. Kareth didn't think. She leaped forward, covering Jack's body with her own, and took the hit. A sharp blast of energy struck her back. She fell on top of Jack, groaning in pain. Her armor cracked. Smoke rose from her shoulder. Jack coughed, opening his eyes. Kareth. She looked at him through one eye, the other swollen shut. I told you. Honor's debt. He tried to sit up, but she pushed him down. Stay low. Above them, the first dropship's commander shouted into the comms, Cease fire. Cease fire. Target is one of ours. Inside the cliff base, Varn watched with clenched fists. She risked her life, whispered one of the younger warriors. For a human, said another. Varn growled. No, for something greater. Back outside, soldiers from the first dropship landed. They approached slowly, guns raised, but not firing. Jack stood now, helping Kareth up. She could barely walk. Stand down, Jack shouted. She's not the enemy. The commander stepped forward, lowering his weapon. She just saved your life. Jack nodded. And I saved hers. Maybe it's time we stop shooting and start listening. The commander looked at Kareth. She bled, but didn't show fear, only pride. Then the commander turned to his soldiers. Medic. Now. In the next hour, the cliff base was surrounded, but no shots were fired. Human medics entered, carefully, treating wounded aliens. Alien guards watched, tense, but didn't stop them. Jack and Kareth sat together near a fire. Her wounds were bandaged again. You're insane, she said weakly. Jack smiled. You jumped in front of a ship missile. I think you win. She smirked. I didn't want to owe you again. He laughed. Too late. Later that night, the human commander and the alien elder met face to face. Jack stood between them. They discussed peace. Only the start of it. But still, words, not bullets. Jack looked at Kareth as the talks began. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. You changed everything. Jack looked at the stars. You helped. Kareth paused. Where I come from, to shield someone from death is the highest honor. We call it Karental. It means sacred bond. Jack smiled. Sounds like friendship to me. Kareth didn't answer. But for the first time, she reached out and placed her hand gently over his. Her warrior fingers, rough and scared, rested softly against his human skin. Far above them, the night sky was still broken with warships, satellites, and darkness. But in that small camp, by the firelight, something brighter had begun. Not just peace, but trust. A warrior's truth. The camp was quiet that night. For the first time in many weeks, there was no gunfire, no rumbling engines, no warning sirens, just the soft crackle of a fire and the low hum of alien machines quietly running in the background. Kareth sat alone on a rocky ledge that overlooked the desert floor. The wind brushed against her bruised face. Her body was wrapped in healing bandages, but it was the pain inside that still hadn't healed. She didn't hear Jack come up behind her. "You always sit in the dark?" he asked gently. Kareth didn't turn. "Only when I don't want to be seen." Jack sat down beside her. "That's funny, because this is where I come when I want someone to see me for real." Kareth finally looked at him. Her expression was softer now, but her eyes, they still held storms. "I have something to show you," she said quietly. From inside her armor, she pulled out a round metal disc, not much bigger than Jack's palm. It glowed faintly. Jack recognized it. "Is that your brother's memory core?" Kareth nodded. "Yes, his name was Toran. He died in the second week of the war." She pressed the disc. A soft projection floated above it. An alien male with gentle eyes and a warm voice began to speak in their native tongue. Kareth activated the translator. "If you are hearing this, it means I didn't return. I hope our people remember why we fight. Not for hate, not for pride, but for survival. And for hope. Kareth, I believe in you. Don't become like them. Don't lose your heart. Even warriors can love." The projection ended. Silence. Kareth stared down at the disc. "He was everything I wanted to be. But after he died, I changed." Jack spoke gently. "You became someone the war forced you to be." She nodded slowly. "I trained harder, fought longer. I stopped smiling. I stopped laughing. I stopped dreaming." Jack looked at her with quiet admiration. "But you didn't lose your heart." Kareth turned to him. "You don't understand, Jack. I hunted humans. I believed killing your kind was justice. I stood over bodies and told myself it was the only way." Her voice cracked. "I was a monster." Jack shook his head. "No, you were lost, not a monster." Kareth clenched her fists. "I can't undo what I've done. I've taken lives." "So have humans," Jack said, "including some I trusted." Kareth looked away, but Jack gently touched her hand. "We can't change our past," he said, "but we can choose what we become now." She didn't answer at first, but slowly her hand wrapped around his. The next morning, Jack worked inside the old communications chamber with Kareth. Together, they were trying to fix a long-range broadcast system, a way to send a message not just to humans or aliens, but to everyone. Jack twisted a panel open. "If we get this working, we could send a peace proposal to both sides. Real proof that enemies helped each other." Kareth studied the wires. "And what if they ignore it?" "Then we try again," Jack replied. "And again. Until someone listens." Kareth watched him closely. "You believe people can change." Jack looked up. "I have to. I believed in machines once. Now I believe in you." Later, while walking near the edge of the camp, Jack and Kareth came upon a group of alien children hiding behind a wall. They peeked at Jack, wide-eyed. He smiled and waved awkwardly. "Hey there." One little alien girl stepped forward and offered him a small carved stone, a symbol of thanks in their culture. Jack took it gently. "Thank you. It's beautiful." Kareth watched, her heart tightening. She had once seen a human child cry as her unit passed by, terrified. Now, alien children were thanking one. Something was truly changing. That evening, Kareth did something she hadn't done since before the war. She laughed. Jack had slipped on a loose metal pipe and fallen flat on his back while trying to fix a solar battery. He groaned, face covered in dirt. Kareth burst out laughing. Not a fake one, not cold, but a real laugh. Loud, clear, and full of life. Jack sat up, grinning. "Wasn't that funny?" Kareth wiped a tear from her eye. "To me it was." Then her smile faded. "I haven't laughed since Torin died." Jack stood beside her. He'd be happy to hear it again. She nodded. He would. That night, around the fire, Kareth did something even rarer. She sang. A soft, haunting tune in her native language. Jack didn't understand the words, but he didn't have to. It was a song of sorrow and healing. Kareth finished, her voice cracking at the last note. She turned to Jack. It means when the sword is laid down, the heart remembers its name. Jack blinked slowly. That's beautiful. Kareth looked into the flames. Do you really think peace is possible? Jack answered without hesitation. Yes, because the moment you saved me, the war started to lose. Kareth closed her eyes. Then maybe we both won something greater than a battle. Far away, a shadowy figure watched their peaceful camp through a long-range scope. A group of warlords, neither truly human nor alien, were not pleased. They profited from war, from chaos, and peace was dangerous. Prepare the strike, the leader said. We end this tomorrow. The trial of fire. The morning sun rose red like blood across the cliffs. It was too quiet, too still. Jack woke up with a strange feeling in his chest, like something was wrong. He looked around. The camp was already awake, but the energy felt different. Tense, cold, and Kareth was missing. He ran to the tunnels, to the command room. Varn was there, standing tall in front of a crowd of alien warriors. Where is she? Jack demanded, breathless. Varn didn't even blink. Kareth has returned to her people's core base. She has chosen to face trial by fire. Jack stared. What? Why? She believes her actions must be judged, Varn said firmly. She protected a human, loved a human. Our laws demand she answer for it. Jack's heart dropped. She went alone. She ordered us not to follow. Jack clenched his fists. And you listened? Varn looked at him with unreadable eyes. She is still a warrior. Her honor is hers to defend. Jack shook his head. No, she's not alone anymore. Not while I'm alive. Kareth stood before the grand council of her people, a circle of high-ranking warriors and elders wearing long ceremonial robes. She knelt in the center, hands bound by tradition, not force. The main chamber was carved from black stone, with fire pits glowing around her. It was a sacred place, where warriors were judged by their code, not by emotion. The High Elder spoke with a deep voice, echoing through the chamber. Kareth, daughter of Toran, you have broken the sacred code. You formed a bond with a human. You protected him in battle. You sang in front of him. You brought a foreign soul into our holy camp. Kareth spoke clearly. Yes, I did all those things. The elder frowned. Do you deny betrayal? No, Kareth said, but I deny hatred. I deny the lie that every human is our enemy. I have seen the truth. I have lived it, and I will not apologize for surviving with honor. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Another elder hissed, and what would your brother say? Kareth's voice softened. He would have said that even warriors can love. Back at the alien outpost, Jack was preparing to leave. You'll get yourself killed, said one of the younger warriors. Jack strapped on a utility belt. If that's the price for standing by her, I'll pay it. Varn finally spoke, his voice calm. You will need a guide. Jack turned in surprise. Varn tossed him a light spear. You saved her once. Let's see if you can do it again. The sacred base was deep in the eastern mountains, surrounded by lava rivers and dangerous cliffs. Jack and Varn traveled fast, using old tunnels and hidden paths Kareth had once spoken of. Along the way, Jack kept replaying her words in his mind. Even if I die, my truth will remain. He wouldn't let her die. Not for truth, not for honor, not alone. Inside the grand hall, the fire pits roared louder now. The final part of the trial had begun. Kareth must face the circle of fire, a test of truth, pain, and purity. If she survived the flames without breaking, her words would be accepted. If she cried out, she would be marked a liar, a traitor, and sentenced to death. Kareth stood barefoot on the black stone, eyes closed, her heart steady. The flames circled closer. Just before the test began, a loud crash echoed through the chamber doors. Everyone turned. Jack stormed in, covered in dirt, sweat, and fire dust. Varn was right behind him, weapons drawn, but not raised. The elders stood in shock. "This is sacred ground," one shouted. Jack ignored them. He walked straight to Kareth and stood between her and the fire. "If she burns," Jack said, his voice shaking, "then burn me too." Gasps rippled through the room. Kareth's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" Jack looked at her. "What I should have done sooner." He turned to the council. "I'm not here to disrespect your laws. But if you punish her for kindness, for honor, for saving a life, then maybe it's not her who needs to change." The elders stared at him. Then Kareth stepped forward. She looked at her people. Her voice rose, full of fire, but this time, not the kind that destroyed, the kind that healed. "I was raised to believe that showing weakness was shameful," she said. "That kindness to an enemy was betrayal. But this human showed me something more powerful than fear. He treated me like I mattered. He reminded me of my brother, of who I used to be." She placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "I do not regret saving him. I regret waiting so long to open my eyes." The oldest elder stood and raised her staff. "The circle of fire does not only burn skin," she said. "It reveals the truth in one's soul. And today we have all seen something very rare." The flames dimmed. The trial ended. There would be no execution. Instead, silence. And then, a warrior's salute. One by one, the council members raised their hands in the ancient symbol of respect. Even Varn joined them. Kareth bowed her head. She had passed the trial of fire, not with strength of body, but with strength of truth. That night, Kareth and Jack sat under the stars, back at the outer camp. "Did you mean it?" she asked softly. "You would have walked into the fire with me." Jack looked at her, without a second thought. Kareth reached into her armor and took out the small stone the alien child had once given him. "You dropped this during the trial," she said. Jack smiled and took it back. "It's funny." "What is?" "When I first met you, I thought I was helping you." Kareth turned to him, her expression gentle. "But it was you who saved me," she whispered. Far above them, ships moved again in the dark sky. A storm was coming, but this time, they wouldn't face it apart. The pact of peace. The galaxy was still bleeding. Even after Kareth's trial ended in mercy, even after Jack's courage moved an ancient council, war continued elsewhere. Humans and aliens still pointed weapons at each other. Bombs still fell. Fear still ruled. But deep inside a hidden alien mountain, something had changed. Hope was alive. And it had a signal. Jack stood in the old command center beside Kareth, rewiring the last cables of the long-range broadcast system. Dust floated in the air. The room buzzed with energy. On the screen above, the words read, "Transmission ready." Kareth adjusted the signal amplifier. "This will reach both sides. Human colonies, alien warships, civilian planets. Everyone." Jack nodded, his hands shaking just a little. "It's time." She looked at him. "You should be the one to speak." Jack shook his head. "No, they won't listen to a human. But they might listen to us." Kareth stepped forward, took a deep breath, and pressed the activation button. A small light blinked. Across multiple systems, radios crackled alive. On starships, officers turned in confusion. In bunkers, soldiers looked up. On planets, civilians gathered around old screens. One voice began to speak. Kareth's voice. "I am Kareth, daughter of Toran. I am a warrior. I have fought in battles. I have lost friends. I believed that humans were all evil. I was wrong." Jack stepped beside her. "And I'm Jack Morell, a human engineer. I was told aliens like Kareth were monsters. that they would never show mercy, but she saved my life. More than once. We stood on opposite sides, but we chose something different. We chose to see each other as people. Not every alien is cruel. Not every human is hateful. We want to build something new, a future without war, a world where trust is not weakness, but power. Let this message be the first stone in the bridge between our people. We are ready for peace. Silence followed. Across the galaxy, people listened. On a human battleship, a young officer wiped a tear from her eye. On an alien colony, an elder whispered, "Torin would be proud." In the darkest corners of the war, hearts began to stir. But not all were pleased. In a distant asteroid base, warlords watched the broadcast and panicked. If this spreads, our control is finished. End it. End them now. A deadly strike was ordered. An assassination to silence the voices of peace before they reached too far. That night, Jack and Kareth sat near the cliff's edge, watching stars. The signal continued to play on repeat across communication networks. It had already reached over 90 sectors. "I don't know what happens next," Jack said softly. Kareth stared at the stars. "Neither do I. But whatever it is," he added, "we'll face it together." She turned to him, her hand finding his. "You have become more than a friend," she said. "You are my light in a place where I once saw only fire." Jack smiled, his voice rough. "And you're my anchor. You remind me what courage really looks like." They sat together as stars moved above them, feeling something rare. Peace. Suddenly, a warning alarm blared through the base. Red lights flashed. Varn's voice crackled through the comms. "Incoming strike. Long-range torpedoes. They're locked on us. Evacuate." Jack jumped to his feet. "They're targeting the transmitter." Kareth grabbed her blade. "They want to end the message." "Then we don't let them," Jack said. "We finish this." In the final minutes, Jack and Kareth ran to the transmitter tower, high on the cliff. The torpedoes were already in the sky, glowing like falling stars of death. "Too late to run," Jack said, out of breath. Kareth looked at him. "Then we stand." They reached the tower's core. Jack opened the panel and pulled out the data crystal holding their message. "If we die," he said, "someone else needs to carry this." Kareth took it from him and looked at him with fire in her eyes. "No," she said, "we won't die." The first torpedo struck the cliff. Boom, throwing rocks and fire into the air. Jack shielded Kareth. The ground shook. The second torpedo flew straight toward the tower. Kareth turned, eyes blazing, and activated the energy shield using her own armor core. The shield burst to life. Weak, flickering, but real. The explosion lit up the sky. The tower shook violently. But it didn't fall. The transmitter survived. Their message was still playing. When the dust settled, Jack lay on the ground, coughing. "Still alive," he groaned. Kareth stood above him, scratched but smiling. "I told you we wouldn't die." He grinned, blood on his lip. "Remind me never to doubt you again." Later that week, an unexpected signal came from the Human High Council, and one from the Alien Coalition. Both wanted talks. Both wanted Kareth and Jack to represent them. 1 month later, peace talks began on neutral soil. Jack wore a simple jacket. Kareth wore ceremonial armor, but not as a weapon, as a symbol. They stood together before the galaxy's cameras. Two once enemies, now leaders of a movement. And in the crowd, alien children waved flags of both worlds. Human engineers worked with alien builders on shared colonies. Stories were told. Books were written. Songs were sung. The war had not ended in fire, but in kindness. Years later, people would ask, how did it begin? How did peace really start? And the answer would always be the same. It started when one human showed kindness to a battle-hardened alien warrior, and her reaction shocked the world. The end.